Great. So that wraps up all the properties. So we have some time if there are any um, questions for the previous presenters, or more questions for Kevin, or any questions regarding the ReadyMass 100 initiative.
Yeah, I have a question for either Peter or Doug, but in terms of the activity that you guys see from an inbound perspective and people looking around, and and I know you put up a slide, but you know, is there any specific group that is looking, that's kind of surprised you guys, or any particular sector that surprised everyone, last year and this year?
I would add, we over the last couple of years, we've had a uptick in food companies in general, looking for food grade space, refrigerated space, freezer space, or an interest in building that out. Definitely within the last 2 years compared to previous years. And we've had, it's tough to find properties for those types of users. It's been a challenge for us. So that as far as an industry is something that's really been active. I guess, in addition to that, we've had a lot of requirements over the last couple of years that have needs along the line of a large developable site. When I say large, 50 acres plus, and that's been a challenging requirement as well, particularly for biomanufacturing and large scale distribution land sites. So those have been two challenges, but they've also been requirements that have really been active over the last couple of years.
And I would just add that we've had a lot of warehouse distribution, logistics center activity, obviously, and that is honestly seeing the number of properties suitable for significant warehouse distribution on this list is great, because that has been a pretty pressing need, and we're aware of some of the really mega buildings that are being built out there for 600,000 square feet and up. But I think definitely there's going to be activity in this range, and there's 300,000 square feet or so, and so that's fantastic. One thing I would say, and I've said it in other Mass Econ events before, we have had something that's different in terms of the life science biomanufacturing space. Is we've had 5+ years ago, a life science company wouldn't be looking at something that didn't have life science infrastructure existing in it. We'd get a lot of requests for find us a biomanufacturing facility or a pharma facility or what have you, and those are always at a premium or non-existent. Just that kind of infrastructure just didn't last on the market long. And so what we saw over the past couple of years is we've had this interesting competition between large life science manufacturing opportunities looking at the same buildings that warehouse distribution was looking at, and saying, well, we just need the space. We'll put the infrastructure in, and that's a huge change from where the biopharma was 5+ years ago. Now, they're well funded. They can make investments in facilities from scratch and go in and I mentioned before we began today talking about the lichen bioscience out in Hopkinton. They went into an existing a building that did have some life science infrastructure, and they took it all out, and they basically went back to a shell and built out a fantastic facility. But that's what, and so for where we've seen some large biomanufacturing opportunities, and they are often looking at buildings that were certainly not built for biomanufacturing purposes. So that was an interesting competition that we've seen for that type of space over the last couple of years, which is new, very new. So all of these buildings, just as a general comment, it's great to see in terms of size, scale of these buildings and availability, and when many will become available. I think the timing for a lot of these properties is absolutely spot on. There's the average size of projects that we were involved in last year. We do tend to be involved in larger square footage requirements anyway, and it tends to be more, in the manufacturing, distribution, type space. But really what we saw was, tremendous amount of activity, and I think again these sites are really going to be well suited for those opportunities. So timing is great with all of these. We're really happy to have these entering the ReadyMass platform. And what we do with it, we market these again to that site selector community. And stepping back, what we get the impression from national site selectors that are located in Chicago and Dallas and the West Coast, what have you. There's always this perception somehow that Massachusetts is built out, that there's not a lot of large. We do have an issue in terms of large acreage, but all of these buildings are pretty significant size and scale. It can meet a lot of different types of needs, and that's what we want to get out to the site selector community, that we have ready-made sites. And so that's the focus of our attention on those site selectors, so that they can share with all the different companies and that become their clients over the course of the next months and years. So thanks for bringing this all to us. I don't want to wrap up comments here, but I see Steve with his hand up.
Just a quick one, Pete. I'm pretty sure you attended the Mass Bio Breakfast last week, where they told us that over the past 2 years, we've delivered 5 million square feet of life science space, but over the next 2, we will need 20 million, a factor of 4 over the next 2 years. So there's just no end to this accommodation right now. And with the velocity of lease up, we've got a couple of CGMP facilities. We haven't finished the drawings yet, and they're fully leased. Crazy.
Very active life science, and we've seen a lot of the biomanufacturing opportunities, and but we shouldn't forget the other types of manufacturing that again, I think our insights would be, it seems to be on an uptick. Other types of manufacturing as well, looking for the hedge bedding, onshoring, I think is real, starting to happen, and based on what we saw last year, it is. And so those are other opportunities out there, and so we're really again, these are great additions, and we're happy to see the gateways involved as well, and in the game. That's certainly a priority for us as well.
Can I ask a quick question of Steve, if you don't mind, Peter?
Sure, go ahead, Rob.
Steve, on those GMP facilities you talked about pre-leasing, Do you have any sense of what the modification cost consisted of to get it from where it was to what it's going to be?
Well, these are ground up. That's what I'm saying. These are ground up facilities. They haven't even broken ground yet, and they're fully leased. A couple of them out in Burlington. So it's just the conversion cost obviously varies to what's there, but most of the time you're going to strip out all the MEP that's there and bring in all new MEP, and that can run itself on the order of 100 to 125 a square foot for the CGMP facility. And then you bring in all the process, which normally is a TI responsibility rather than a base building core and shell is what we're seeing.
Okay, and that's the way you'll deliver it.
Yeah, we will deliver base building core and shell with infrastructure. And then these tenants are coming in and putting in their own process with their own process engineers.
Okay, helpful. Good to know. Thank you.
Yep.
I had one question actually for Travis on the Concord property, the deck building. Do you see that as I think we still have Travis? I see him blacked out, but I see him still on. Is that I didn't take a note in terms of the power. Is that a potential data center possibility? If Travis is still on, maybe not. We can follow up with him on that. But given that it's past use, that might be. We do get occasional inquiries on data center, and usually the issue there is power supply. So we'll follow up. I think Mary Jo has a hand up. Oh, I think you're muted.
A little bit better? Yeah?
Very good.
Good. I was curious if any of the presenters, what their experience was with the host municipalities. Were certain use types more well received than others? The reason I ask is warehouse distribution, particularly Amazon, has had a lot of pushback in some communities and then not in others. And yet I'm guessing that biotech manufacturing is sort of a darling that almost any community would want. Maybe that's an overstatement. And then I also heard one of the comments that food manufacturing spaces are really hard to find because these other two are kind of gobbling things up. So I just wondered, any comments from presenters on host municipality interaction relative to use types that you're bringing?
Great question.
I'm happy to take that, Mary Jo. In Woburn, where our CGMP facility is, it's part of an overlay district for biomed. So the city of Woburn, while they're not turning anything away, they're trying to upgrade what was historically a corridor between 93 and 128, which has a lot of warehouse and distribution facilities along it. They're looking to lean more towards seeing those facilities turn over to biomed. However, the absence of availability of anything with a loading dock, including our 11 million square foot portfolio, is nil. In fact, we're at 0% on labs, and it's safe to say we're probably less than 1% on anything with a loading dock. So until those spaces become available and subject to how people are moving forward with getting permits from the city, that's when we'll see if there's any more of a heavy hand associated with that intent.
Hey, Pete, this is Doug Landry. If I could just make a comment for Mary Jo and the others here. Something to keep in mind going forward in these sites or any other sites that life sciences or e-commerce or anything else. When it's a ReadyMass 100 site, we try to shoot for shovel ready. We try to shoot for projects that are permitted not just at the local level, but also through the state. So bear in mind, particularly places like Fitchburg, where there is another new sort of overlay with the MEPA process, and that's revolving around environmental justice populations and proximity of project sites that require state permits, like a DOT permit or a Mass DEP water withdrawal permit. In the case of Foxborough, we were talking about some of those sites. What would have been a project that may not have seen the light of day in MEPA, with the new EJ requirements, they will go through the full EIR process. So be cognizant of that. I'll be happy to talk with anybody on this phone about what that means. But to make it shovel ready, it's not just the local permits, it's the state permits as well. So just something to bear in mind.
Well, great. Well, any other questions or comments? This has been terrific. And again, can't say enough about the properties that we're adding to the inventory. We are delighted to be able to work on marketing these. And it's great to have them on the ReadyMass inventory. And we will be sharing, and you'll be, in all likelihood, hearing from us on different opportunities. So we really appreciate the time. Doug and Annie, thanks for all the coordination with the presenters. Presenters, y'all did a great job. We appreciate it. And in capturing this, it's also something we will I believe share this with everybody. Annie, is that the plan?
Yes, we will.
Great. And it also becomes a resource for us to share with potential opportunities that come our way. So thanks so much, everybody. Really appreciate it. You'll see these listings up, and you'll be hearing from us in the near future, hopefully about a lot of opportunities coming your way. And we appreciate your time today. Wish you a great weekend and school break next week. Hope everybody gets a day or two of a break coming up. So take care, everybody. Thanks so much.